Hello, I'm Mari Jones, and welcome to Caffeine TV, your daily video news brief, here to take you through 3 headline numbers in just 3 minutes, giving you a different take on everything from housing policy to the Real Housewives. Well, the Millions March takes place tomorrow for criminal justice in Washington in the wakes of the deaths of Michael Brown and Eric Garner, and too many others. To everyone traveling to Washington, D.C., please do so safely, and we'll be sure to talk about it here on Monday. The first number up, speaking of Washington, D.C., is $1.1 trillion. This is the size of the 2015 federal budget passed by the House of Representatives last night, the so-called Crominbus bill. Now, you won't find the word Crominbus anywhere in the dictionary. That's because, as the House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi says, it's actually the Congress's version of the cronut. But the real reason why it's called that is because, wonk alert here, it combines 2 different types of budgeting. One short-term called the continuing resolution, which will fund the Department of Homeland Security for just a couple of months because the Republicans want to penalize President Obama for his immigration action that we spoke about here last month, while the rest of it will fund the rest of the government for a year. That's the omnibus part. Okay, wonk alert over. But both Democrats and Republicans hate the bill. Democrats don't like that immigration penalty thing. They also don't like the fact that it would allow rich people and corporations to increase by as much as 10 times the amount that they give to political parties. And moreover, it would allow for Wall Street to continue with their risky activities and then to be bailed out for it, even though that was supposed to be all over. And that last part was so abhorrent even to Republicans that it barely squeaked through. But in the end, it did pass. And what's really new here? I mean, the 1% will be allowed to give as much as they want practically to political parties and then be rewarded for it by a guaranteed bailout. So we'll just have to see what happens to it when it goes over to the Senate. The next number up today is 24, as in November 24th. That's the date in which Sony Pictures was hacked by the hashtag GOP organization. And ever since then, it's been a PR and business nightmare. Hashtag GOP not only released salaries and secret scripts and budgets of films, but also emails between key executives and key Hollywood producers like Scott Britton, who made Social Network and There Will Be Blood, basically joking about the types of movies that President Obama likes, whether or not he's into slave movies like Django and 12 Years a Slave. Now, some people in Hollywood, like Shonda Rhimes, say that it's racist, but I don't necessarily know if I agree. Now, I don't want to disagree with Shonda Rhimes because I do want my walk on roll on Scandal, but they also did things like call Kevin Hart a whore and really went after Angelina Jolie, saying that she needed to be shut down and that she was mediocre and that she had a big ego, and on it went. And so I don't necessarily know if this is as much about racism as it is as anyone who's ever watched an episode of Entourage, that basically Hollywood is just run by a bunch of assholes. The last number up today is 1974. Now, that's the year that Beverly Johnson graced the cover of Vogue as the first Black woman. But yesterday, she dropped an equal bombshell and another Condé Nast publication, Vanity Fair, where she detailed a 30-year-old encounter with Bill Cosby where he, surprise, surprise, drugged, assaulted, and attempted to rape her. But as Johnson describes yesterday, fortunately, she was able to escape. Now, she's the 21st woman to come forward with Cosby accusations. And as we've said here before, all of those stories are remarkably similar. But for some reason, and on Twitter and in my Facebook timeline, people were saying that she's the one that they believe. Now, the reason why Johnson came forward is because of that. She said that the other women were being savaged, and including her friend Janice Dickinson, and that she wasn't going to stand for it because she knew what was the truth. But it got me to thinking about why she was the one for people, why her and not number 19 and number 14. And it brought me to the fact that she, like Bill Cosby, is an icon. And it brought me to a sad place of realizing that her iconic status gives her credibility, which brought me to another sad realization that perhaps now in our country, the only way to be heard, to be believed, and get justice is to be an elite.